To whom should zakat be given, and to whom should it not be given? 9.7. A person may not give his own zakat to his wife if she is poor, nor to his ascendants, father, grandfather, mother, grandmother, or descendants, children, children's children. Nor may he give it to his divorced wife who is in her waiting period. This is because the benefit of the zakat he will give her would, even if only partially, accrue to him. However, this benefit must be completely severed from him. According to Imam Azam, a woman cannot give her zakat to her husband if he is poor, because by custom, there is a partnership of interest between them. According to the two Imams, a woman may give her zakat to her husband if he is poor. 98. Zakat may not be given to one who possesses property equal to the nisab amount in addition to their basic necessities, because such a person is considered wealthy. It makes nitrogen monoxide difference. Whether the property exceeding one's basic needs is a commodity, such as trade goods or cash, which increases in value, or a non-increasing asset such as a home or household goods. However, it is permissible to give a voluntary charity to a wealthy person. For this reason, it has been deemed permissible for wealthy individuals to receive income from the charitable portion of endowments. In accordance with the terms of the endowment deed, this constitutes a donation and an act of generosity. 99. Just as zakat may not be given to the sons of Hashim and their emancipated slaves, other forms of charity such as usher, vow offerings, and expiation may not be given to them either. Zakat and items considered of the same nature are regarded as a purification for people. The honor and status of the sons of Hashim have been such that they have never accepted such a thing. ALMS may be given to them only in the form of a gift or a token of hospitality. The term sons of Hashim refers to the children and grandchildren of the prophets, peace and blessings be upon him, uncles, Hazrat Abbas and Haris, as well as those descended from Hazrat Ali and his brothers Akil and Shefar. These individuals are entitled to a share from the spoils section of the treasury, according to their needs. Some scholars of Islamic jurisprudence have stated that if they do not receive these shares, zakat may be given to them to relieve them from poverty. 100A. Person to whom zakat is to be given must be eligible to receive zakat at the time of distribution. The loss of this eligibility at a later date does not invalidate the zakat that was given in advance. Accordingly, if the zakat on a particular asset is given to a poor person before the year has ended, and that poor person becomes wealthy or dies before the year has ended, it is not necessary to pay the zakat on that property again, and the zakat paid in this manner cannot be reclaimed, because the reward expected from giving it has already been earned. 101. A person may not give their zakat to the young child who has not reached puberty of a wealthy man, because this child is considered wealthy by virtue of his father's property. However, zakat may be given to the child of a wealthy woman who is poor and an orphan, and whose father is a Muslim, because this child's lineage is established through the father. He is not considered wealthy because of his mother's wealth. Furthermore, a person may give his zakat to the poor Muslim father of a wealthy man, or to the poor Muslim pubescent elder child, or to that person's poor and Muslim wife, because they are individuals capable of managing their own affairs and are not considered wealthy by virtue of each other's wealth. 102. Zakat may not be given to non-Muslims, because zakat is the right of poor Muslims. In a hadith, take zakat from the wealthy among the Muslims and give it to their poor. It is stated, for this reason, non-Muslims are not obligated to pay zakat. This act of worship is a religious and social duty belonging to Muslims. Those who do not participate in this duty have nitrogen monoxide right to benefit from it. However, Imam Zufar considered it permissible to give zakat to zimmi, non-Muslims living under Islamic rule as well. This is because the purpose of zakat is to relieve the needy from their needs through an act of worship. This purpose is achieved by giving zakat to poor zimmis. Furthermore, there is consensus that voluntary charity, sadaqah, may be given to non-Muslims. 103. It is more meritorious to give zakat to relatives, that is to say, first, to needy brothers or sisters, then to their children, then to uncles and aunts, then to their children, then to cousins and their children, and then to other close relatives considered family. After them, there is merit in giving to poor neighbors and colleagues. 104. Zakat should be given to the poor in the place where the wealth is located. It is makruh to send it to the poor in other countries at the end of the year. However, if the recipients of zakat are relatives or are in greater need than the poor in the locality where the property is located, then there is no objection to sending it to such people who are far away. Furthermore, there is nitrogen monoxide objection to sending zakat to another country before the year is ended. 105. It is permissible to give tips to servants, children, or poor people who bring good news on holidays and other days with the intention of fulfilling the obligation of zakat. 106. Zakat is not considered valid unless it is accepted by the poor person themselves or by the guardian or legal representative of a poor child or an insane person. It is sufficient for a poor person who is senile or one approaching puberty or a child of an age at which they understand the value of money and will not be deceived to receive the zakat. 107. If a person conducts research to determine whom to give their zakat to and gives it to a man whom they believe is eligible to receive zakat, and it later turns out that the man is indeed eligible, this zakat is unanimously considered valid. If, on the other hand, the situation remains unclear or it later turns out that the man is wealthy, according to Imam Azam and Imam Muhammad, the zakat remains valid. However, if zakat is given without conducting an investigation and without considering whether the recipient is eligible for zakat, even if it is valid, if it later becomes clear that the recipient was not eligible for zakat, zakat must be paid again because there was a failure to conduct the necessary investigation. 108. Zakat given to a person about whom there is doubt regarding their eligibility without conducting an investigation risks being invalid. If it later turns out that the person was indeed poor, the zakat will have been properly distributed. Otherwise, it will not. 92. It is a requirement that zakat be transferred to a person eligible to receive it, that it become their property. Therefore, meals served to the poor as a gesture of hospitality do not count as zakat. Likewise, money spent on charitable causes cannot be considered zakat. Zakat funds cannot be used to finance the Hajj or to free a slave. They cannot be used to build a mosque, madrasa, fountain, road, or bridge. Likewise, zakat funds cannot be used to purchase shrouds for the deceased or to pay off debts. However, if a poor person voluntarily spends the zakat money they received on such charitable purposes, both the poor person and the person who gave them the zakat will earn reward. Furthermore, it is not permissible to count providing housing for a poor person as zakat. This is because such an act is not considered a gift.